The unlikely rescue. The void storms of the Terminus sector had claimed more ships than any war in galactic history. Captain Nexar of the Zephyrian Imperial Navy knew this as he watched his bridge displays flicker and die one by one. The stars, Edge, his pride and the most advanced warship in the fleet, was dying around him. Engineering report. Vexar barked, his crystalline skin shifting from pale blue to angry crimson. The Zephyrian captain stood nearly 8 feet tall, his four arms working frantically at the command console while his large, multifaceted eyes scanned the chaos erupting across his bridge. "Captain, the quantum drive is completely offline," reported Chief Engineer Vorth, his own skin pale with fear. "We're losing atmospheric integrity on decks 7 through 12. The storm's electromagnetic pulses are tearing through our shields. Like they're made of vapor through the main view screen. Space itself seemed to writhe in agony. The void storm stretched for thousands of kilometers in every direction. A churning mass of dark energy and twisted space-time that made navigation impossible and communication with the outside galaxy a distant dream. Lightning that wasn't quite lightning arced between invisible barriers, each bolt powerful enough to vaporize a small moon. Dexar's secondary arms clenched into fists. 3 cycles ago, the Star's Edge had been pursuing a group of human smugglers through this sector when the storm had appeared without warning. Now those same humans were probably light years away, laughing at the Zephyrian predicament. It was exactly the kind of cowardly behavior he expected from the soft-skinned species that had been nothing but trouble since first contact. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," announced Navigator Kef, the youngest officer on the bridge. Unlike the older Zephyrians, his skin maintained a curious purple hue that often indicated an open mind. "It's coming from bearing 37 Mark II. "Impossible," Dexar snapped. Nothing could survive in the heart of this storm. But even as he spoke, a ship appeared on their sensors. It was smaller than the Star's Edge, with an unusual design that seemed almost organic. The vessel moved through the storm with impossible grace, its hull shimmering with some kind of adaptive shielding that Dexar had never seen before. "This is Dr. Alina Vasquez of the human research vessel Prometheus," came a voice over the communication system. The accent was distinctly Terran, with that peculiar flat quality that all humans seemed to possess. "We're detecting massive system failures on your ship. Do you require assistance?" The bridge fell silent except for the ominous groaning of stressed metal and the sharp crackle of overloading circuits. Dexter's 4 eyes narrowed as he stared at the human ship. Every instinct screamed that this was a trap. Humans were notorious for their deception, their willingness to exploit any weakness for their own benefit. Captain Kef said quietly, "Our life support will fail within 2 hours. We have no choice." "We always have a choice," Dexar replied coldly. But the words rang hollow as another system failure alarm echoed through the bridge. He looked around at his crew, at officers who had served with distinction in battles across 3 sectors. They deserved better than to die in this cursed storm because of his pride. "This is Captain Nexar of the Imperial vessel Star's Edge." He finally transmitted, "We acknowledge your offer of assistance." 20 minutes later, Vexar found himself face to face with the most aggravating human he had ever encountered. Dr. Elena Vasquez was small, even by human standards, barely reaching his lower chest, with dark hair pulled back in a practical knot and intense brown eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. She wore a simple grey jumpsuit marked with incomprehensible human symbols and carried a toolkit that looked like it had been assembled from spare parts. Your quantum resonance chamber is completely destabilized, she announced without preamble. Having spent the last 15 minutes crawling through access panels that no Zephyrian could fit through. But that's not the worst part. Dexar loomed. Over her, all four arms crossed in a gesture of barely contained hostility. Explain. Alina wiped grease from her hands with a cloth that had seen better days. This wasn't caused by the storm. Someone sabotaged your drive core. The damage pattern is too precise, too targeted. This was deliberate. Impossible, Dexar snarled. No one aboard this ship would commit such an act, and we have been isolated in this storm for days. Then the saboteur is still here, Alina said calmly, and they're probably watching us right now. Navigator Kef shifted uncomfortably at his station. Captain, if the human is correct, then we face a threat from within as well as without. Vexar's skin flashed an even deeper shade of red. I will not have my crew questioned by an outsider, especially not a human. Your species has caused nothing but problems since you stumbled into space. You're reckless, emotional, and completely unreliable. Alina raised an eyebrow, a gesture that somehow managed to convey both amusement and annoyance. And yet, here I am, the only person keeping your superior ship from becoming cosmic debris. Your choice, Captain. You can work with me, or you can explain to your crew why your pride was more important than their lives. The bridge fell silent again, the tension thick enough to cut. Dexar's four eyes studied the human engineer with undisguised contempt. Everything about her offended his sensibilities. She was small, soft, and seemingly fragile. Her species had been spacefaring for less than 2 centuries, while his people had been exploring the galaxy for millennia. Yet somehow, this unremarkable creature had managed to navigate through a storm. That had crippled his advanced warship. Very well, he said finally, each word carefully measured. But you will work under strict supervision. Touch nothing without my explicit permission. Alina shrugged. Fine by me, but we're burning daylight here. The storm is intensifying, and whoever sabotaged your ship isn't going to wait for us to have a lengthy diplomatic discussion. She turned to study the massive quantum drive that dominated the center of the engineering section. The chamber was a work of art, its crystalline components grown rather than manufactured, each element perfectly tuned to manipulate the fundamental forces of space-time. Under normal circumstances, it hummed with barely contained power. Now it flickered weakly, its harmonious frequencies replaced by chaotic discord. Beautiful work, Alina admitted grudgingly. Your engineers know their stuff. But whoever did, this knew it too. They didn't just break random components. They specifically targeted the quantum resonance matrix to create a cascade failure. She knelt beside one of the access panels, her small hands moving with practiced efficiency. The good news is that the core structure is intact. The bad news is that fixing this is going to require some ... unconventional methods. Vexar's secondary arms twitched. What do you mean by unconventional? Alina grinned, and for the first time, Vexar saw something genuinely unsettling in her expression. It was the look of someone who enjoyed solving impossible problems. Well, your quantum matrix operates on harmonic resonance principles, right? Each crystal has to vibrate at exactly the right frequency to maintain the field geometry. Obviously, even a child knows this, right? But here's the thing. Your saboteur knew that too. They introduced a discordant frequency that's propagating through the entire system. By now, it's so deeply embedded that trying to remove it conventionally would take weeks. Thensar felt his skin shifting to a pale blue of confusion and growing alarm. Then we are lost. Not necessarily. Alina pulled a small device from her toolkit, something that looked like a cross between a musical instrument and a scientific calculator. Humans have been dealing with harmonic problems for thousands of years. We call it music. Music, Kef asked, his purple skin brightening with curiosity. Alina nodded. Every wave has a complementary wave that can cancel it out. It's basic physics. If I can generate the exact opposite frequency of the sabotage signal, I can neutralize it. The trick is finding the right note. She attached her device to the quantum chamber's control interface, her fingers dancing across its surface. Strange. Sounds began to emanate from the drive core, tones that no Zephyrian ear had ever heard. Some were deep and resonant, others high and crystalline. To Vexar, it sounded like chaos. But slowly, incredibly, the quantum chamber began to stabilize. The flickering lights strengthened, and the discordant humming that had plagued the ship for hours began to fade. It's working, Kef breathed. His skin now a bright shade of excited yellow. Alina nodded, sweat beading on her forehead from concentration. Almost there. I just need to find the root frequency, and then... She paused, her expression suddenly. Grim, oh hell, what? Dexar demanded. The sabotage signal. It's not random. It's responding to my input, adapting. Someone is actively controlling it. She looked up at the assembled Zephorians, her brown eyes hard with determination. Your saboteur isn't just aboard this ship. They're here in this room. As if summoned by her words, the lights suddenly cut out, plunging the engineering section into darkness. Emergency lighting kicked in a moment later, bathing everything in hellish red. And in that crimson glow, Vexar saw Chief Engineer Vorth, standing by a secondary control panel, his forehands working frantically at the interface. Vorth Vexar roared, "Stand down." But the chief engineer ignored him, his skin now a mottled pattern of black and silver that indicated extreme emotional distress. "I cannot allow this corruption to continue," he shouted back. "Humans are a plague upon the galaxy. They will destroy everything we have built if we do not stop them first." Alina dove for her device as sparks began flying from the quantum chamber. The harmonic stabilization she had been building collapsed, and the drive core's death throes resumed with renewed violence. "He's overriding the safety protocols," she yelled over the rising cacophony. "If he destabilizes the core completely, the explosion will tear a hole in space-time." Vexar lunged toward his chief engineer, but Vorth was ready. The traitor activated a personal shield generator, the familiar blue dome of energy forming around him just as Dexar's fists slammed into it. "You're too late," Vorth snarled. "In 60 seconds, this ship will be destroyed, taking the human contamination with it. My death will be a worthy sacrifice to preserve Zephyrian purity." The quantum chamber began to pulse with increasing violence, each throb sending shock waves through the ship's superstructure. Alina scrambled to reconnect her device, but every time she made progress, Vorth's sabotage signal adapted to counter her efforts. "I can't fight him and fix the drive at the same time," she shouted to Vexar. "You have to stop him." But the shield generator was military grade, designed to withstand sustained weapons fire. Vexar pounded against it uselessly while precious seconds ticked away. Around them, the star's edge began to come apart at the seams. Kef suddenly stepped forward, his young face set with determination. "Captain, the shield generator draws power from the ship's main grid. If we reroute power from the auxiliary systems..." "Do it," Dexar commanded, without hesitation, as Kev's hands flew over the controls. Alina made one last desperate attempt to stabilize the quantum chamber, but Vorth's sabotage had evolved beyond her ability to counter it with conventional methods. She needed something more, something unprecedented. Then inspiration struck. "Captain," she called out, "I need your help. Not as a Zephyrian, not as an enemy, but as someone who understands what we're facing." Vexar looked at her, confusion evident in his 4 eyes. "What do you mean? Music isn't just about frequencies. It's about harmony, about different voices working together to create something beautiful. I can't sing this song alone." Understanding dawned in Nexar's expression. Despite every instinct, despite generations of prejudice and distrust, he found himself kneeling beside the small human engineer. "Tell me what to do." Trust in the storm. As the quantum chamber's death throes intensified, Alina Vasquez made a decision that would have seemed impossible hours earlier. She was going to trust an alien who had made no secret of his hatred for her species. "Your people's technology is based on harmonic resonance," she said quickly, her hands flying over her makeshift interface. "But it's not just mechanical. It's biological too, isn't it? The way your skin changes color, the way you communicate through subsonic frequencies I can barely hear." Dexar nodded grimly, his forearms braced against the deck as another shockwave rocked the ship. "The quantum resonance mirrors our own neural patterns. It is why only Zephyrians can truly understand our technology." "Exactly, and that's why my approach isn't working. I'm trying to play a piano concerto on a violin." Alina gestured toward the pulsing chamber where Chief Engineer Vorth continued his sabotage from behind his protective shield. "But what if we played it together? Human innovation with intuition," Kev called out from his position at the power controls. "Captain, I'm ready to drop his shields on your command." Dexar hesitated for a crucial moment. Everything he had been taught told him that humans were unreliable, that their chaotic nature made them dangerous allies. But as he looked at Alina, he saw something that challenged every prejudice he held. Here was a being who had risked her life to save strangers, who faced impossible odds with nothing but determination and ingenuity. "What do you need me to do?" he asked. Elena's brown eyes lit up with fierce hope. "Put your hand here on the resonance interface. I'm going to sync my device with your neural patterns. When I give the signal, I need you to think about harmony, about balance, about what this ship means to you and your crew. That is impossible. No human has ever interfaced with Zephyrian biotechnology. Yeah, well, no human has ever been stupid enough to try fixing a quantum drive with a harmonic synthesizer either." Elena's grin was equal parts confidence and insanity. Today's a day for firsts. Vexar placed one of his forehands on the crystalline interface. Immediately, he felt the chaotic discord that Vorth's sabotage had introduced into the system. It was like listening to a symphony where every instrument was playing a different song. A cacophony that made his entire nervous system ache. Connected her device to the interface, and suddenly Dexar felt something extraordinary. For the first time in his life, he was experiencing technology through an alien perspective. Where he felt discord, the human device interpreted patterns. Where he sensed chaos, Elena's mind found underlying structure. Now, Elena whispered, her voice tight with concentration. "Think about your ship, not as metal and crystal, but as a living thing. What does it sound like when it's healthy?" Dexar closed his 4 eyes and reached deep into his memory. He remembered the first time he had served aboard a Zephyrian vessel. How the quantum drive's harmonic resonance had seemed to sing in harmony with his own heartbeat. It was a sound that spoke of home, of safety, of the infinite possibilities that lay among the stars. Elena's device began to capture and amplify that memory, translating it into frequencies that the damaged quantum chamber could understand. Slowly, impossibly, the chaotic noise began to organize itself into something resembling music. But Vorth was not finished. From behind his shield, the rogue engineer launched a new wave of sabotage, this one designed specifically to counter their combined efforts. The fragile harmony they had built collapsed again, and the quantum chamber resumed its violent death dance. "He's adapting faster than we can compensate," Alina said through gritted teeth. "We need to stop him permanently." Kef's voice cut through the noise from across the engineering bay. "Captain, I can drop his shields, but only for a few seconds. The power drain is too great to maintain." Vexar looked at Alina, then at his young navigator. For the first time since the crisis began, he truly saw his crew not as extensions of his own will, but as individuals with their own strengths and insights. Kef's curiosity about human technology, his willingness to question established doctrine, Chief Healer Myra's wisdom in bringing different perspectives together for the good of the patient. Even Vorth's fanaticism, twisted though it had become, arose from a genuine love for their people. "Kef," he said, "drop the shields." "But not to attack Vorth, to reach him, Captain." Kef's skin shifted to a confused orange. "Trust me, and Alina, keep working on the harmonics. I have an idea." As Kef initiated the power transfer, Vorth's protective shield flickered and died. The chief engineer spun around, expecting an attack. Instead, he found Vexar approaching with all four hands raised in a gesture of peace. "Vorth, old friend," Vexar said, his voice carrying those subsonic frequencies that spoke directly to Zephyrian neural patterns. "I understand your fear. I share it." Vorth's hands hovered over the sabotage controls, uncertainty flickering across his expression. "You cannot mean that, Captain. You are working with the humans. You have betrayed everything we stand for." "Have I, or have I finally understood what we truly stand for?" Vexar took another step closer. "Look around you, Vorth. Our ship is dying. Our crew faces extinction. And the only hope we have comes from the very beings you despise. Behind them," Alina continued her delicate work, her device slowly building new harmonic patterns, while Vexar's neural input provided the biological framework the quantum chamber needed to accept them. "The humans are a corruption," Vorth insisted, but his voice lacked its earlier conviction. "They will dilute our purity, make us weak." "No," Vexar said firmly. "They will make us stronger, not by changing who we are, but by helping us become who we could be." He gestured toward Alina, who was now completely absorbed in her work. "Look at her, Vorth. She risks her life for strangers. She combines her knowledge with ours, not to dominate, but to create something neither species could achieve alone." For a moment, it seemed as though Vorth might relent. His skin had shifted from the black and silver of fanaticism to a muddy brown of confusion. But then, Chief Healer Mira's voice crackled over the communication system. "Captain, I'm detecting massive energy fluctuations from your location. Whatever you're doing, you have less than 30 seconds before the quantum chamber reaches critical mass." The words broke Vorth's momentary uncertainty. His skin flashed back to militant black and silver as he lunged for the sabotage controls. Better to die pure than live corrupted. Vexar moved to intercept him, but the chief engineer was closer to the controls. For a heartbeat, it seemed as though all their efforts would come to nothing. Then Alina did something that would be talked about in both human and Zephyrian circles for generations to come. Instead of trying to counter Vorth's sabotage, she embraced it. Asterisk. For a long moment, nobody moved. The engineering bay was filled with the sound of breathing, both human and Zephyrian, as they all tried to process what had just happened. Finally, Kef broke the silence. "Captain, we're receiving another transmission." From the Prometheus, Alina wiped her hands on her jumpsuit and grinned. "That'll be my team wanting to know if I'm still alive. They tend to worry when I disappear into alien death traps for hours at a time." Dexar found himself doing something he had never expected. He was smiling at a human. "Perhaps we should inform them that their engineer has accomplished the impossible, actually," Alina said, gathering up her improvised tools. "I think we all accomplished the impossible. Your neural patterns, Kef's power management, even Vorth's sabotage signal. None of us could have done it alone." She paused and looked directly at Dexar. "You know, when this story gets out, it's going to change things. Both our species have spent so long assuming we're incompatible that we never considered what we might accomplish together." Dexar nodded slowly. His skin had shifted to a warm gold color that indicated deep contentment and newfound wisdom. "Perhaps it is time for both our peoples to learn new songs." As Alina prepared to return to her ship, Vorth approached hesitantly. His skin was now a pale blue of shame and regret. "Human... Dr. Vasquez. I owe you an apology. And my life." Alina looked at him for a moment, then extended her small hand in the human gesture of reconciliation. "We all make mistakes when we're afraid. The important thing is what we do after we realize we were wrong." After a moment's hesitation, Vorth reached out with one of his 4 hands and gently clasped hers. "Perhaps... Perhaps there is much my people could learn from yours." As the Prometheus prepared to continue its journey through the void storm, now in formation with the star's edge, both crews had been forever changed. They had faced the impossible and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. The galaxy was about to discover that when humans and Zephyrians worked together, there was no challenge too great, no problem too complex, no storm too fierce to overcome. In the depths of space, 2 ships moved as one through the chaos of the void storm, their crews united by the universal language of courage, ingenuity, and hope. And somewhere in the distance, other species would soon learn that the age of isolated civilizations was ending. The age of cooperation had begun, the last thing Alina saw before the Prometheus jumped to hyperspace was Dexar on the star's edge view screen, his 4 arms raised in what she now recognized as a Zephyrian salute of deep respect. Behind him, his crew worked at their stations with a new sense of purpose, their skin colors bright with optimism and determination. As the stars stretched into lines around them, Alina smiled. She had come into the void storm as a simple engineer. She was leaving as a bridge between worlds, and in the quantum wake of their passage, the harmonic frequencies they had created together continued to resonate, a song of unity that would echo through the galaxy for years to come. Asterisk.